Welcome to Stories Junction. Let's begin today's story. My wife, Emily, and I have been married for 5 years. The honeymoon phase was long behind us, but I thought we'd weathered the hardest storms, learning to live with each other's quirks, finding a rhythm through small sacrifices. There was a time when Emily's face would light up the moment I stepped through the door. We'd stay awake into the early hours, talking about dreams, fears, nonsense, anything. Now, though our exchanges were brief, shallow, meaningless, she wasn't upset, we didn't fight, but that was almost worse. She just didn't seem to notice me anymore. For the past few months, she'd been heading out every Saturday night with her friends. At first, I didn't care. She worked long hours at the hospital. She earned a break. But the more I dwelled on it, the more it gnawed at me. I didn't trust her crew. One was in some messy open relationship. Another was a twice-divorced cynic. And the third was a wild card who thrived on drama. I told myself their chaos didn't mean Emily would follow suit. I wanted to believe we were solid. But no matter how hard I tried to brush it off, something felt wrong. One Saturday, she left our apartment around 7:30 p.m., wearing a sleek black dress I hadn't seen since our dating days. Seeing her in it twisted something in my chest. Not nostalgia, but unease. She used to wear stuff like that for me, back when she cared what I thought. Lately, I might as well have been invisible. I'd blamed it on her job, the exhaustion, but my instincts screamed otherwise. "You look good," I said, forcing a faint smile. She barely glanced my way. "Thanks," she muttered, snatching her keys and heading out. I stood there, watching the door close, the sting of her indifference settling like a stone in my gut. It wasn't just that night. It had been months of this, me trying, her barely responding. I'd bring her coffee from her favorite shop, and she'd give a half-hearted "that's sweet." I'd suggest a weekend getaway, and she'd shrug it off, claiming she was too drained. I'd plan a movie night, and she'd say I was only doing it because she'd hinted at it once. But I wasn't. I was fighting to pull us back to what we'd had. Every day, I poured myself into my job, trying to build the future she'd always talked about: trips to Europe, a house by the lake, stability. I thought I was doing it right. Yet somehow, I was always the one falling short. I told myself not to overanalyze. She'd be home soon. I flipped on the TV, cycling through channels I didn't care about, my phone idle in my hand. Every so often, I checked the time. Midnight. She was usually back by now. At 1 a.m., I texted her, "You okay?" Nothing. By 2 o'clock, I called. It rang once, twice, then voicemail. I tried again. Same result. Worry turned to frustration. Where was she? By 5 a.m., I was pacing, anger bubbling up. When I finally heard her car roll into the parking lot at nearly 6 o'clock, I stayed on the couch, TV muted, pretending to scroll my phone. The door clicked open, and Emily stepped inside. The black dress was gone. She wore an oversized gray hoodie and jeans, clothes I didn't recognize. Her mascara was streaked, her hair a wild mess. Then the smell hit me: sweat, cheap perfume, booze, and something heavier, something primal. She ran a trembling hand through her hair and flashed a weak smile. "Hey," I stared, keeping my tone even. "You changed." She blinked, glancing down like she'd just noticed. "Oh yeah, spilled wine on my dress." She paused, a beat too long, then turned away, tossing her keys on the counter. I didn't speak, just watched. She was lying. She rummaged through her bag, avoiding me, then yawned theatrically. "I'm beat. Gonna shower and sleep." She started for the bedroom, but I wasn't letting it go. "Emily." She stopped, turning slowly. "What?" Her face flickered, defiance, maybe guilt, maybe something else. I stepped closer, voice low. "Why didn't you text me? Call me? Let me know you'd be out all night." Her posture stiffened. "It was girls' night, David. Do I need to report in every hour?" I let out a dry laugh. "It's called decency, Emily. Respect. I've been up all night wondering if you were okay." I stood, calm slipping away. "And you left in one outfit, came back in another. You stink of—" I stopped while rising. Her cheeks flushed, but she masked it with a sneer. "Are you accusing me of something? Just say it." My pulse hammered. "Fine," I snapped. "Did you sleep with someone tonight?" Her eyes met mine, and for a split second, something cracked in them. Then she looked away. That tiny hesitation told me everything. "You're paranoid," she scoffed. "Is that how little you trust me?" My throat tightened. "Don't. Just tell me the truth." Silence. Her composure frayed. Then, barely audible, she mumbled it was one time. It didn't mean anything. The air in the room seemed to vanish the moment Emily whispered those words. It was one time. It didn't mean anything. My body locked up, every muscle rigid. The blood roared in my ears, drowning out the hum of the apartment's silence. My hands balled into fists at my sides, nails digging into my palms. I stared at her, but she wouldn't look at me, just kept her eyes fixed on the floor like a child caught in a lie too big to explain. "What?" My voice came out choked, barely a whisper. She didn't respond, didn't move. The weight of her confession sank deeper, twisting my stomach into knots. I stepped back, dragging a hand across my mouth, trying to process it. My mind raced, replaying every moment of the last few months. The distance, the excuses, the way she'd pull away when I reached for her. What the hell brought this on? I asked, my voice breaking. What? Still nothing. No explanation, no defense, just that suffocating silence. I paced the living room, my breath sharp and uneven, trying to keep the fury from spilling over. I wanted to yell, to smash something, but I wouldn't let her see me unravel. Not yet. "Say something," I demanded, turning to face her. She finally lifted her head, her eyes glassy with unshed tears. "I was lonely," she murmured. I barked out a bitter laugh, the sound harsh in the quiet. "Lonely?" I echoed, incredulous. I needed something," she continued, her voice trembling. "I needed to feel wanted." I stared at her, dumbfounded. "So, you went and screwed someone else?" The words tasted like poison. Tears spilled down her cheeks, but I felt no pity. She wasn't the one breaking here. I was. "You could have talked to me, Emily," I said, my voice shaking with a mix of anger and hurt. "You could have said something, anything, but instead I couldn't finish, just shook my head. She'd chosen this. She'd thrown us away." I exhaled hard, running a hand down my face, trying to steady myself. "You know what? It doesn't matter." Her head snapped up, eyes wide. "What?" she breathed. "I can't do this anymore," I said, my voice hollowed out, stripped of everything but resolve. "We're done. I want a divorce." The word hit her like a slap. Her breath hitched, and she staggered back a step. "Wait, please, no," she stammered, reaching out. I cut her off, my tone firm. "There's nothing left to wait for." She took a shaky step toward me, desperation creeping into her voice. I wasn't thinking. It was a mistake, I swear. I didn't mean for it to happen. I scoffed, my patience thinning. "Then why did you do it?" She hesitated. Then in a voice so soft, I almost missed it, she said, "The girls, they said it'd teach you a lesson." I froze, my stomach lurching. "What?" She swallowed hard, her hands twisting together. "They said you'd start appreciating me more if you thought you could lose me. That you'd finally notice me." Her voice cracked. I thought I was doing it to save us." A bitter laugh ripped out of me, sharp and jagged. "And you bought that? Well, congrats, Emily. You've got my attention now. Just not how you planned." She looked at me, tears streaming down her face, pleading. "David, I love you," she said, stepping closer, her hand outstretched. I flinched back. "Don't," I snapped. "Don't touch me." She broke then, sobs shaking her shoulders, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no softening. Just a cold, simmering rage and a bone-deep disappointment. I turned away, grabbing my jacket from the chair. "Where are you going?" she asked, her voice frantic. "Anywhere but here," I muttered. "Please don't leave like this," she begged, following me toward the door. "We can fix this." I spun around, keys in hand, and met her tear-streaked gaze. "No, Emily, I'm done." Then I walked out, the door clicking shut behind me. I got into my car and drove off, her figure shrinking in the rearview mirror as she stood on the steps, crying into the dawn. The second I left, I knew there was no going back. Emily had shattered something fundamental between us, something I couldn't rebuild. Her words looped in my head as I drove aimlessly through the waking city. They said it'd teach you a lesson. She hadn't just betrayed me. She'd orchestrated it, egged on by those damn friends of hers. What was the lesson supposed to be? That I'd grovel? That I'd suddenly see her as the center of my world? I'd busted my ass for years to give her what she wanted: security, a future, a life. And this was my reward. The anger burned steady, a low flame under my skin. I couldn't face going home, so I pulled into a motel on the edge of town, checked in, and bolted the door. I collapsed onto the stiff bed, staring at the cracked ceiling. My mind churned, replaying the night, but exhaustion dragged me under eventually. When I woke, sunlight sliced through the blinds, and my body ached like I'd been hit by a truck. For a fleeting moment, I forgot. Then it all slammed back. I sat up, rubbing my face, and let out a slow breath. I couldn't do this alone. I needed to talk to someone. I called my oldest friend, Mark, and asked him to meet me at a diner downtown. He was already there when I arrived, sipping coffee at a corner booth. "Man, you look rough," he said, eyeing me as I slid into the seat across from him. I managed a grim chuckle. "Feel worse." He didn't pry, just waited. So I spilled it all. Emily, the dress, the lie, the confession. By the time I finished, his jaw was tight, his knuckles white around his mug. "She did that? What the hell's wrong with her?" I shrugged, too tired to care. "Doesn't matter. I just want out." Mark leaned back, exhaling. "I know a guy, a divorce lawyer. Sharp as hell. Helped a buddy of mine when his ex tried to bleed him dry." He pulled out his phone, scrolled, and slid it over. "Call him. He'll sort it." I stared at the name on the screen, nodded, and saved it. "Thanks, man." He clapped me on the shoulder. "Anytime." The next morning, I dialed the number Mark had given me. The lawyer, a guy named Richard Holt, picked up on the second ring. His voice was brisk, no nonsense, but not cold, just the kind of steady I needed. I told him I wanted a divorce, kept it short, no details. He didn't ask for more, just said, "Come by this afternoon. We'll get it started." By 2 p.m., I was sitting in his office, a small, tidy space downtown with a view of the river. Papers were spread across his desk, and he walked me through the process with a calm efficiency that made the chaos in my head feel manageable for the first time in days. "We'll keep it clean," he said, pen-tapping the page. "You got any joint assets? House accounts?" I nodded. "Apartment. Savings. Nothing crazy." He jotted it down. "Good. Makes it simpler. She contesting this." I shrugged. "Don't know yet. Probably." He smirked faintly. "They usually do." By the time I left, the paperwork was in motion. It felt surreal. 5 years of marriage reduced to legal checkboxes and signatures. Driving back to the motel, I kept the radio off, letting the hum of the road fill the silence. Emily had texted me twice while I was with Holt. "David, please talk to me." Then, "I'm so sorry. Can we just meet?" I didn't reply. What was there to say? She'd made her choice, and I'd made mine. The papers were served to her 2 days later. I wasn't there for it, but I could imagine her face, the shock, the tears. She didn't waste time after that. My phone lit up with messages, voicemails, calls I let go to voicemail. "I messed up." "I know." Her voice cracked through one recording. "I'll do anything to fix this. Please don't throw us away." I deleted it without listening to the rest. Then she showed up at my job. I work construction, managing sites across the city, and that Thursday, I was overseeing a crew pouring concrete when I saw her car pull up. She stepped out, hair pulled back, eyes red-rimmed, looking like she hadn't slept. The guys on the crew glanced over, sensing the tension, but kept working. I walked over, jaw tight. "What are you doing here, Emily?" She fidgeted with her sleeve, voice small. "I just need 5 minutes. Please." I crossed my arms. "I'm working." She didn't budge. "I'm begging you, David. I know I screwed up, but we can get past this." I stared at her, the woman I'd once promised forever to, and felt nothing but exhaustion. "There's no we anymore. Go home." Her face crumpled, but she nodded and left. I turned back to the crew, ignoring their curious looks, and threw myself into the job. Her desperation shifted after that. When I didn't bend, the apologies turned to blame. A text came late one night. "Maybe if you'd paid more attention to me, I wouldn't have done it. You were never there." I laughed. A short, bitter sound. Classic move. First the tears, then the guilt trip. It confirmed what I'd already figured out. She'd rewrite this however she needed to sleep at night. I didn't respond. Let her spin her story. I was done playing the villain in it. Word started trickling back to me through mutual friends over the next couple weeks. Emily was unraveling, they said. She'd been spilling her guts to anyone who'd listen. How her friends had pushed her into it. How they convinced her I was taking her for granted. Apparently, the crew she'd run with had sold her some twisted logic. Make me jealous, shake me up, and I'd suddenly turn into the doting husband she wanted. The kicker? Those same friends bailed the second it blew up. The one in the open relationship stopped returning her calls. The twice-divorced cynic told people Emily was pathetic for thinking it'd work. The wild card just laughed it off like it was all a game. Emily had torched her life for people who didn't give a damn about her. I heard she'd been drinking more, showing up at bars alone, looking for sympathy. One friend, Sarah, who'd always stayed neutral, called me to check in. She's a mess, David, Sarah said, voice soft. Keep saying she didn't mean to lose you. I leaned against the motel wall, staring at the peeling paint. She didn't lose me. She threw me away. Sarah sighed. I know. Just thought you should know. I thanked her and hung up. Part of me wondered if I'd feel bad for her eventually, but that part was quiet. Mostly, I felt free, like a weight I hadn't noticed was finally gone. The divorce moved fast with Holt pushing it through. We split the savings down the middle, and I let her keep the apartment. I didn't want it anyway. Too many ghosts. I found a small place across town, a one-bedroom near the river, and started moving in. The first night there, I sat on the floor with a beer. No furniture yet, just boxes stacked around me. It was bare, but it was mine. No lies, no games, just silence I could live with. Some people warned me I'd regret it. You'll wake up one day and wish you'd tried harder, my cousin told me over the phone. I didn't argue, just said, maybe, but I didn't believe it. Emily had crossed a line I couldn't uncross, and I wasn't about to punish myself for her choices. Mark swung by a few days later with pizza and a six-pack. We sat on the floor, eating off paper plates, and he asked how I was holding up. Better, I said, and meant it. He nodded, cracking open a beer. Good. She didn't deserve you, man. I shrugged. Doesn't matter now. We drank in comfortable quiet, the river glinting outside the window. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was drowning. The anger was still there, a dull ember, but it didn't own me anymore. Emily could keep her regrets. I was done carrying them. The weeks after moving into my new place felt like a slow thaw. The divorce wasn't final yet, but the papers were signed, and the gears were turning. I threw myself into work, spending long days on site, barking orders at the crew, and coming home to my sparse apartment too tired to think. It was a rhythm I could handle, simple, predictable, no room for the mess Emily had left behind. The one bedroom was still half empty, just a mattress, a folding chair, and a TV propped on a box. I didn't mind. It was a blank slate, and for once, I didn't feel the need to fill it with anything or anyone. Emily didn't let up, though. Her texts kept coming, a steady drip of desperation. I miss you, David. Can we just talk? One read. Another. I'm seeing a therapist. I'm trying to fix myself. I didn't reply. What was the point? She'd call sometimes, late at night, and I'd watch the screen light up with her name until it went dark. Once she left a voicemail, her voice thick with tears. I know you hate me, but I still love you. I'd take it all back if I could. I deleted it without a second thought. She could drown in her remorse. I wasn't her lifeline anymore. Word from mutual friends painted a clearer picture of her spiral. Sarah texted me one afternoon, saw Emily at the grocery store. She looked rough, said she's barely sleeping. Another buddy, Jake, ran into her at a bar downtown. She was hammered, he told me over beers one night. Kept going on about how her friend screwed her over, how she didn't see it coming. He shook his head. She's lost it, man. I nodded, sipping my drink. Not my problem. Jake raised an eyebrow, but didn't push. He knew me well enough to let it lie. The funniest part, or maybe the saddest, was how her so-called crew had turned on her. The one in the open relationship, Lisa, was apparently telling people Emily was unhinged, like she hadn't been the one whispering in her ear to shake things up. The twice-divorced one, Karen, cut her off completely, saying she didn't have time for drama queens. And the wild card, Trish, was posting cryptic nonsense online about loyalty and betrayal. like she wasn't the spark that lit the fuse. Emily had bet everything on their advice, and they'd left her swinging in the wind. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Work kept me grounded. The crew noticed I was sharper, more focused, no distractions dragging me down. One guy, Tony, clapped me on the back after a long shift. "You're like a new man, boss. Whatever you ditched, good riddance." I smirked. Something like that. Off hours, I started running along the river trail near my place, the cold air burning my lungs, the steady pound of my feet drowning out the noise in my head. It wasn't about forgetting Emily. It was about remembering I didn't need her. The anger still flared up sometimes, hot and sudden, but it was fading, replaced by something closer to indifference. Mar checked in regularly, dragging me out for coffee or a game at the bar. One night, over wings and a playoff broadcast, he leaned back in his chair, studying me. "You doing all right, huh?" I shrugged, wiping sauce off my hands. "Getting there." He grinned. "Told you she wasn't worth it." I didn't argue. He was right. Emily had shown me exactly who she was, and I was done pretending she could be anything else. We watched the rest of the game in easy silence, and when I got home, I slept better than I had in months. The divorce hearing came up faster than I expected. He'll call me a week before prep. "She's not fighting it," he said, voice clipped. "Wants to settle quick. You're splitting the assets as agreed. Should be smooth." I leaned against the counter in my kitchen, a single bulb flickering overhead. Good. I didn't ask about her, and he didn't offer. The day of, I showed up at the courthouse in a plain button-down, hands in my pockets, feeling strangely calm. Emily was there, across the room, head down, flanked by a lawyer who looked bored. She glanced at me once, eyes red, but I didn't hold her gaze. The judge ran through it. Assets divided, no alimony, papers stamped. Done. We were legally untangled in under 20 minutes. Outside, she caught me on the steps. "David," she started, voice shaky. I kept walking. "It's over, Emily. Let it go." She didn't follow, and when I glanced back, she was just standing there, arms wrapped around herself, staring at the ground. I drove away without a second thought, the city blurring past me. That night, I cracked a beer on my tiny balcony, the river glinting under the streetlights. No weight on my chest, no knot in my gut, just quiet. It felt like waking up. A few days later, Sarah called again. "She's moving," she said. "Out of state." Said she needs a fresh start. I leaned back in my folding chair, staring at the ceiling. "Hope it works out for her." Sarah paused. "You mean that?" I thought about it, then nodded to myself. "Yeah, I do. I didn't hate her, not anymore. She'd blown up her own life more than mine, and that was punishment enough." Sarah sighed. "You're a better guy than most, David." I chuckled, just tired of carrying it. The new place started feeling like home. I picked up a couch from a second-hand shop, hung a cheap print of the river on the wall. Small steps, but mine. Friends kept saying I'd regret walking away, that I'd miss her someday. I didn't. If anything, I missed who I thought she was, but that woman never really existed. Emily had shown me the truth, and I'd learned from it. Some lines can't be uncrossed, and I wasn't about to waste my life on someone who'd step over them so easily. The months after the divorce slipped by quietly, like the river outside my window, steady, unhurried, carrying the past downstream. I settled into my new life with a kind of ease I hadn't expected. The one bedroom wasn't much, but it was mine, pieced together bit by bit. A couch here, a table there, a shelf for books I'd never found time to read before. Work stayed my anchor, the crew keeping me sharp, the rhythm of it drowning out any lingering echoes of Emily. I didn't think about her much anymore, not out of effort, but because she just didn't matter. The anger had burned itself out, leaving only a faint scar I barely noticed. She was gone from the city by then. Sarah had been right. Emily moved out of state, chasing that fresh start she talked about. I didn't know where, didn't care to ask. Mutual friends stopped bringing her up, either out of respect or because her story had run its course. The last I'd heard, through Jake over a casual beer, was that she'd cut ties with her old crew completely. "Heard she's sober now," he'd said, shrugging, trying to figure herself out. I nodded, took a sip, and changed the subject. Good for her, I thought, and meant it. But it didn't change anything for me. My days found a new groove. I'd run the river trail at dawn, the sky streaked pink and gold, my breath puffing in the cool air. Work filled the daylight hours, and nights were mine, sometimes spent with Mark watching a game, sometimes alone with a book or the TV flickering in the background. I started cooking more, simple stuff like steak or pasta, figuring out what I liked without worrying about someone else's tastes. It was small, but it felt like reclaiming something, myself, maybe. Friends noticed. Tony from the crew grinned one day, handed me a coffee on site. "You're solid now, boss. Like you've got your head back." I smirked. Never lost it. Just misplaced it for a while. Mark kept me honest, too. He'd swing by with takeout or drag me to the bar, always with some offhand comment about how I was better off. One night, over burgers and a loud jukebox, he leaned back and said, "You ever think about dating again?" I paused mid-bite, then shook my head. "Not yet. Don't need to." He raised an eyebrow. "Fair enough. Just don't turn into a hermit." I laughed. A real one, not the bitter kind I'd gotten used to. No promises. He grinned, and we let it drop. I wasn't closed off, just in no rush. For the first time in years, I liked my own company. The past didn't vanish completely, though. Sometimes I'd catch a whiff of perfume like hers in a crowd, or a song we'd loved would play on the radio, and it'd tug at me. Not pain, just memory. But it passed quick. I'd built something new, and she didn't fit in it. People still warned me I'd regret leaving, especially my cousin, who'd call every few months with the same line, "You'll miss having someone, David. You're too young to give up." I'd shrug it off. "I'm not giving up. I'm just done settling." He'd sigh, but he stopped pushing. Truth was, I didn't miss her. I missed the idea of us, maybe, but that had been dead long before she crossed that line. One Saturday, I ran into Sarah at the hardware store. I was grabbing paint for the bedroom. Something neutral, a clean start. She was in the next aisle, picking out light bulbs, and waved me over. "Hey, stranger," she said, smiling. "Place coming together?" I nodded, holding up the can. Slowly, she hesitated, then asked, "You hear about Emily?" I shook my head. "Not lately." She fiddled with the box in her hands. "She's in Colorado, I think. Got a job at some clinic. Sounds like she's okay." I nodded again. "Good to know." Sarah studied me, then smiled faintly. "You're okay too, huh?" I chuckled. "Yeah. Took a while, but yeah." She patted my arm. "Glad to hear it." That night, I painted the bedroom, the sharp smell of latex cutting through the quiet. When I finished, I cracked a beer and stood back, the walls fresh and blank. It felt right. The next day, I hung a mirror I'd found at a flea market. Nothing fancy, just enough to catch the light. Step by step, the place was becoming home, and so was I. The divorce had left me raw, but it had also stripped away the weight I'd carried too long. Emily's betrayal wasn't my burden anymore. It was hers. A year to the day after I'd walked out, I sat on my balcony with a coffee, the river glinting under a gray sky. I thought about her for a minute. Not with anger, not with longing, just a passing glance at what had been. She wanted to teach me a lesson, she'd said, and maybe she had, just not the one she'd planned. I'd learned what I wouldn't tolerate, what I was worth. She'd lost the one guy who'd have stuck by her, and I'd gained the freedom to stop chasing someone who didn't see me. It wasn't a victory lap, just a quiet truth. Mark texted later, "Drinks tonight?" I replied, "Yeah, why not?" I grabbed my jacket and headed out, the air crisp, the city humming around me. Life wasn't perfect. Bills piled up, work got messy, the apartment still needed a decent chair, but it was mine, and that was enough. Emily was a ghost now, a shadow that didn't touch me anymore. I'd come out the other side, not just surviving, but living. And as I stepped into the bar, the noise washing over me, I knew one thing for sure. Some breaks can't be mended, but they can set you free.